Welcome to this episode of Giving Your Dog Its Best Life. I'm Janine Smith, canine educator. We all love our fur babies and want to make the most of our years together. Join me as we discuss all sorts of ways to give your dog its best life. We'll cover a bunch of topics: health, training, challenges at different developmental stages, from puppyhood to crossing the Rainbow Bridge, and maybe just a little bit of storytelling centered in how deeply we love these amazing canines. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe. I would love to hear from you in the comments or via email at janine@edupups.com. I'd love to hear topics you feel are important to your life with your pup. Together, we can speak, live, and love dog as we give your dog its best life. I'm sitting outside of Silverado Veterinary Hospital in Napa, California, with my favorite Napa vet, Dr. Josephine McGrane. Dr. McGrane is one of the really good ones. I officially belong to 4 different veterinary practices in Napa because I have 4 dogs, and I used to be a golden retriever breeder. And so I want to do everything possible to avoid going to an emergency hospital miles away. Dr. McGrane is my number 1 vet. She's always my first choice. Why? Well, it's obvious. She really loves animals. You can always tell a good vet when they get right down on the floor with the animal, because that's the patient, not me. However, Dr. McGrane also listens to me, and she accepts to a degree, I would say, and understands. I do not do everything traditionally that vets advise, but she doesn't seem to hold it against me. She understands that I tend toward a holistic approach for my dogs, and actually I do that for my own health as well. And I've been to some vets where I just felt when they were listening to me talk about my animal, they were going cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching in their head and thinking about all the different things they could do to make money. This is not true of Dr. McGrane at all. So I do use natural means as much as possible to keep my dogs healthy. I really work on prevention, and I look for those small signs to see if something is amiss. Like, I will touch my whole dog from its nose, its ears, its whole body, and I have found lumps and things. Luckily for me, the lumps have not been malignant, but it's still good to know. A big thing too is to look at the energy of your animal. Look at the eyes. Are they clear? I do brush their teeth. I do filter their water. I do provide a nutritional diet. I do exercise them daily. I do check their weights, and I assess their stools. You can tell a lot from poop and observations. But there are times when we all need the real deal, the veterinarian. And I do believe in an annual physical, because the vet can also pick up things that, even though I'm trying, I miss. It's kind of like, as a mother, you have blind spots and you don't always see everything, or you don't want to see everything. So one thing that they picked up was the fact that my Kimmy had 2 chipped teeth. They're the experts in dog health. A little background on my vet, Dr. McGrane. She went to UC Davis undergrad and vet school at Oregon State, which, interestingly enough, has a combined program with Washington State University. So she has degrees from both vet schools. Her hometown is Sonoma, and I just found out today she travels every day from Sonoma to Napa. She has been at Silverado for 11 years. She has 2 children and lives with a small menagerie of a Rottweiler named River. Sometimes her Australian Shepherd comes and hangs out. 2 cats, Cole and Mills. Is it Mills?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And a guinea pig. What's your guinea pig's name?
Max.
Max. Okay. I'm curious. And first of all, welcome and thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
But why did you choose to become a veterinarian and dedicate your life to animals?
Honestly, I don't remember actually choosing this. So my parents told me from the age of 5 forward, I wanted to be a vet. I never thought of anything else. That was just what I wanted to be, move towards it. It was a long and hard road.
Oh, yeah.
But it's always what I wanted to be. And I don't know what originally sparked it. I mean, I assume, yes, I love animals. Yeah.
And that's so cool because I had the opposite from my parents, where as a kid, I was saying, I want to be a vet. I was just always animal crazed from the time I was little. Just loved animals from the time I could probably walk, crawl, or whatever. And they were like, no, you don't want to be a vet. Again, these are Sicilian, Italian, traditional people. How can you have a family? You're going to be in school so long. You could go to become a doctor for people. Why would you do this for a vet?
That's funny. My same Sicilian background. My father told me that I was too emotional to be a vet.
Yes, and that's what my father said. My father said, you won't be able to handle it. How will you be able to put an animal down?
Yep, I was told the same thing.
But see,
and it's actually one of the probably good things that I do have. So, because you have more empathy and care for the pet. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's something that comes across loud and clear. And so 2 of my examples that I wanted to talk about were with Kimmy. So, as you know, Kimmy was pregnant with her first litter. She had a pretty rough road being pregnant. And then when she went to deliver, and I've done, probably 100 different animal labors, and seeing that. And that puppy was not coming out. All I could see were 2 little tiny back legs. That was it. And because it was her first litter, I had nowhere to manipulate or to help her. And after 2 hours, I'm like, okay, we gotta go. And you were there and saved 10 of her puppies, who are the most amazing puppies that, we've ever seen. So huge. I mean, how, I owe you so much for that. And then there's my dog, Rosie, who I wanted her to be a mommy in the worst way. She had everything I wanted to breed. I mean, just all the health clearances and her personality and all of it. But she developed pyometra, which
her body said no.
Right. If you guys don't know that, that's a bacterial infection in the uterus, and it can be fatal. So Rosie's 3 years old. I'm like, okay, this is not going to happen. And the weirdest thing was when Dr. McGrane operated and she had to do the whole spaying operation, she found Rosie only had 1 ovary. So for her to have become pregnant, even if she'd been healthy, would have been very difficult. And it made sense to me then why all of her heat cycles had only been 5 to 7 days and just light spotting. So, was not in the cards for her, but she's motivated me to become an author. So I'm hoping Rosie and I have our story yet to write. So there's so many topics that we could talk about. And yes, we can't do them all in a short podcast, but if you guys are interested, we're very happy to do this again. You can put questions at the end in the comments, or you can email me at Janine@edupups.com. And we will, hopefully, if my good friend Dr. McGrane is willing, we would do this again. But I thought that maybe we would talk about things she wished her clients knew, ways to keep our fur children healthy. So one of the first things that she and I talked about was animal obesity. So she would like to share a story about Fiona.
So Fiona was a older cat. She was about 15, and my daughter, she was at the shelter that my daughter was volunteering at for years, and no one would adopt her because she was old, fat, extremely overweight. She was obese, and that put a lot of extra strain on her joints. She could move around a little. So for my daughter's 14th birthday, we adopted Fiona into our family. But unfortunately, due to her weight issues, her mobility issues, it really had taken even a bigger toll than I had thought. And she only got a year with us, to the point we worked on her weight, we got it down, but it was already too late. And she just couldn't move. I mean, so she got a loving year and it was amazing, but had she not been so obese for most of her life, she would have had a different ending. So just even yesterday, I had another cat that I ended up euthanizing due to so obese and could not move anymore. So it happens, and it's one of those things that we control. We control how much they eat. We control their exercise. I mean, that's part of our job as their owners, is to help keep them lean. So,
and as someone who's spent a lot of time with golden retrievers, it's a big issue with all breeds, but goldens tend to just chunk on those pounds.
They love to eat. I mean, I might be golden retriever. I love to eat too.
They do. They live to eat, and those darn little puppy faces. You're like, well, okay, just a little bit. Here you go. So, Dr. McGrane, I wondered, is nutrition something that's traditionally part of the veterinary program?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I did actually more probably in my undergrad, which was animal science, and so we had a lot of nutrition with that. But it is something we study. We're not nutritionists, so we're not. But I mean, kind of as a vet, you're a little bit of everything, and so nutrition is definitely part of our role as well. Yeah.
Definitely. Are you comfortable sharing what you feed your dog?
I do. I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I feed Science Diet sensitive stomach to my dog, River. She's got a little bit of a sensitive stomach. That helps her out. I am comfortable with the science behind Science Diet, Royal Canin, and Purina Pro Plan. Those are 3 that I trust. There's so many dog foods out there that it's hard to keep track of good ones. Those ones I know have science behind them, and I can trust them.
Gotcha. And yes, and if you've seen my other podcast, I talk about all different kinds of food that you can feed your dog besides kibble. But then there's another piece to this, which is grain versus no grain. So no matter what you feed your dog, whether it's raw or homemade or kibble or what I use, Spot and Tango unkibble, there's real controversy but discussion about whether you should include grain in your dog's diet. What do you think about that? And is there any new data? Because the stuff I read was very confusing as far as who they had, which dogs they had in the diet, who sponsored the research, etc.
I mean, so grain-free, I mean, I think all vets are like out there going, grain-free diets, please don't. Grain is needed. But it's not even the needing of grain that they're finding. It's that they're replacing it with the pulses. So peas, legumes, chickpeas, dried beans. And they're not exactly sure what those are doing. They might be blocking taurine or something, because it's all related back to taurine. And some of the grain-free diets have been linked to dilated cardiomyopathy in pets. And there are certain breeds that are even...
Like Goldens.
Like Goldens are on the list for dogs that are taurine deficiency, dilated cardiomyopathy issues. Cocker Spaniels, Newfoundlands, Dalmatians, I think, are the others. So those ones can have normal taurine levels or normal taurine given to them and still be deficient and end up with that. There's genetics behind it. So there are a lot of factors, but it is these grain-free diets that have the pulses that seem to be linked to it. So there is no reason to feed a grain-free diet medically to a dog.
And I do use grain.
Good.
So my diet has brown rice in it.
Good. I tell people grain is good as a quick little, just grain is good.
Right. As long as it's not, go ahead.
Yes. So those pulses are not grains. They are legumes. But so we tell people to look if you have a pulse, which is the peas and lentils. Soybeans don't fall into that, actually. But if they're in the one in the top 5 ingredients, we recommend trying a different one. And if you have 2 in the top 10, we recommend. So look at your ingredients of your bag and then go from there.
Right. Especially the first 6, right? Which is where the predominant amount of 5, 6.
5, 6.
Okay. So we talked a little bit about preventions and keeping your dog healthy. So there are things like heartworm medication, things for ticks, different vaccines. And they really are all important. Please share your thoughts.
Well, right, in the way we talk about it, right, they're preventatives. They are to prevent diseases that we know are preventable diseases. So heartworm, it's around. It's transmitted by mosquitoes. we can give an easy monthly medication. It prevents the disease. Fleas and ticks carry lots of diseases too. If you're in an area where you're getting a lot of them, again, there are medications that can help that. My dog gets lots of ticks. She runs around on property. She gets lots of ticks. I have to have her on a tick medication. But this is also something, it's really important to individual patient and work a plan that is best for that patient. So you want to talk to your vet, figure out which vaccines, which things you're at risk for, and then make a plan accordingly.
And I love that, because I agree that each pet owner needs to have that very important dialogue with their vet, and then together decide what is best for that pet. I got to tell you guys, for me, heartworm is just too big a risk. I mean, I know I'm not in an area where it's super, super bad, but I've seen too much about it, and it is nasty and something that I would never want to put my dog through.
And so easily prevented.
Right.
That's,
right.
it's,
right.
yeah.
Fleas and ticks, for me, I tend to go more natural with garlic and essential oil sprays, but that's only because I know where my dogs are walking, and if we go anywhere else, like to a river or we're hiking in the woods, those dogs are covered in essential oils, and as I am too, and then I check them after. I do a check, and I use a tape roller, and I go through their body, and I use a flashlight, and I look and see. But I used to live in upstate New York. I got to say that there, it was not enough. I had to use tick medication no matter what it did.
Well, right,
those little ticks would crawl in, and I don't want ticks
Lyme. Well, you have Lyme disease up in that area. Very
bad. I have friends who have like forever issues because they had Lyme. I mean, not something
Lyme here isn't as I'm going to say virulent, as strong as a disease as it is back east. It has something to do with the blue belly lizards and the intermediate host cycle that we have here, but that's more details than you probably want to go into. But I mean, people still get Lyme disease here, so I mean, it is here, and we see it in pets. But there's many tick-borne diseases. So I mean, ticks are gross little critters.
They are,
and carry nasty diseases.
Yes, very nasty. And I now do the lepto vaccine. That is something I did not do back east, but here it is important to do in this Bay Area. So, Dr. McGrane, could you explain? Because you're the reason why I went back to using the lepto for my dogs.
Absolutely. Leptospirosis is a spirochete bacteria transmitted in other animals' urine. So it has many hosts. Rats can be a host of it. The beaches are high risk because the sea lions are carrying it. But it causes acute kidney and liver failure in dogs. And it's definitely on an uptick. We're seeing a lot more of it. Currently, we're practically considering the lepto around here part of the core vaccines now, because it's such a brutal disease when they get it, and it's preventable with the vaccine. There are 8 different serovars carried by different things, so you don't, it depends on your area of which one you might get. The vaccines cover 4 that we give, but they have some cross reactivity to the others. But it's really sad when an animal gets it, and it's expensive when an animal gets it because they are very much hospitalized. They can die from it. We've had that happen too. But it's really hard when it's something that could have been prevented with a vaccine.
And you talk about the core vaccine, which is something I do every 3 years, and I made sure as a puppy they had each of those different inoculations. I always forget, what is actually in the core vaccine? I know it's distemper, I know it's parvo, but what else?
One of those other ones, yeah. So core vaccines are your rabies, of course, right?
Rabies you gotta do.
Rabies
legally.
is lethal to humans and everything that gets it, so you have to do rabies every 3 years. And then the DA2 PPV is the one you're talking about.
Yep.
So it's distemper, which it's distemper, adenovirus, which actually can affect the liver, parainfluenza, which is a respiratory disease, and of course parvo.
Yep.
So that one those are out there, and we want to try to avoid. The more animals that are vaccinated for something, then the less of the disease that we'll see.
Kind of like with people.
Right? Exactly.
Okay, we won't go there.
Vaccines do help.
Okay, and then something else is dental care. I mean, people will look at my dog's teeth and say, oh my gosh, they have amazing teeth. Well, I brush their teeth. But do you want to talk about that at all? Because I know there are certain breeds where, like Yorkies and so on, where they are at such
small mouths and squish face. So like when they have the flat noses, all those teeth go in different directions than they even should have. So, and they're crowded. So those ones are their high, chance of more dental disease. And plaque, just like, turns to tartar in 24 hours. So if you could brush your dog's teeth daily, that is best. And I always say brushing is best. There are gels and chews and other things. So if you can't brush, doing something is better than nothing. Even just getting the toothpaste in the mouth at night decreases, because a lot of them are enzymatic. So they reduce the bacteria load.
So enzymatic is good, right?
Yes, enzymatic is good. Often kind of used toward the end of the night, so they're not drinking and eating anymore. Gives it a little more time in the mouth to work. So even if you can't get in there and fully brush, and really you're just going for those gum lines on the outside of the mouth. The tongue does a pretty good job on the inside of the mouth. So outside teeth, gum lines, brushing. But if you just even get the toothpaste in there, it helps. And dental disease has absolutely been linked with longevity. So if you have good dental care, you can get 2+ years of a dog's life. So,
nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Something else that, even though I was a golden retriever breeder, I feel very committed to helping dogs not end up in shelters. And so something Dr. McGrane and I talked about was training. And I just did a podcast on training that every dog needs, because well-mannered dogs have a better shot at remaining with their families. And yes, we could do just a whole podcast on preventing issues. But Dr. McGrane, can you maybe share just a little bit about what type of training you see as critical? In other words, what are the reasons people give up on their dogs and send them to a shelter?
Yeah, I think I recommend basic training with every single dog. Go out, go to a class, teach them how to be around other dogs, learn basic commands. Sit, stay. I mean, dogs, I love them. They're not always the brightest creatures. And if something is happening and you can get their attention enough to sit or do something, then they'll at least focus on you and maybe ignore the other issue. So having some basic commands, I think, is very important. But the biggest thing I see is lack of socialization. Yeah. And then the dogs are scared. And when dogs are scared, then they bite. Biting is not acceptable. Biting makes it very hard to rehome a dog. And then people give up and they put them in the shelters. Yeah. And it's all because they didn't socialize them.
Right.
And granted, there are the outliers that are, for other reasons, but a lot of it is socialization.
Right. And I have to admit, unfortunately, I've known a couple people who have given their dogs to a shelter because of financial reasons, that they just found out they couldn't afford to feed their family, so to feed their dog, and which was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And it is difficult when you decide you want an animal. You need to really think about your life and where you are, and can you commit to the life of this animal?
Right. Yeah.
It's a big responsibility. And they give us so much.
Yes, absolutely. That is, they was talking about like puppies at Christmas. Yes. They're not a Christmas present. They are a lifetime commitment.
Yep. Never sold a puppy for that reason. Said nope. Yeah. Or during COVID, I did not sell puppies during COVID because a lot of people were buying them for the wrong reason. And a lot of those puppies did end up becoming dogs that I ended up training, 15 to 18 months later, because they hadn't been socialized. And they had a Great Dane who was so reactive. Oh. That was not fun. Yeah. But he came a long way. But it took a lot of work, and his family was at the point where it's like, listen, I was like, you need to do this or you need to get rid of this dog. So they listened and they helped him. Can you tell us a little bit about River? Because I think that's a story there.
Yeah. River came to me River I got when she was about 6 months old. Her owners had hit her with their ATV and broke her leg.
On purpose?
I mean, they didn't mean to break her leg. So, I mean, but that was not a financial commitment that they were willing to do. So they were going to have her euthanized.
And how old was she?
6 months old.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So luckily, a rescue organization from around here, Ripple Animal Effect Project, Ripple, yes, that one, REAP.
Yep.
They stepped in. They had her bone repaired. They had the owner relinquish care to them. And then the day after her surgery, they knew I was looking for a new dog. They brought her by me. And I was like, well, of course I'll take her. So at 6 months of age, I had a dog with a new bone plate and 3, months of healing after that. So she had a little rough start, but she's amazing. She ended up being a great dog. We had to do lots of training with my cats. But we've gone through that as well.
Because of prey drive for Rotties?
Oh, yeah. I think it can be any dog. Doesn't have to be, but she is a Rottie, so yeah. But, no, but she's doing much better with that. And it's a constant, a little bit of training to keep her up on that. But, oh my God, she runs and you wouldn't know she had a broken leg. And she's a great dog.
Wonderful. And that's what makes it all worthwhile. You saved a life.
Yeah.
I mean, she was just a baby.
She was a baby. She was 50 pounds. I thought she was actually maybe we didn't know exactly how old she was. But she ended up she's like 75 pounds. So she grew a little more.
Yeah. So to conclude this podcast, you've talked about it a little bit already, but can you share how animals have enriched your life?
Animals are a lot of my life. At home.
Sometimes I prefer animals, actually, Dr. McGrane.
A lot of the times. No offense to people.
Same.
At home, they give me love, protection, joy, companionship, and then my work. I mean, they give me my livelihood, but being a vet is more than a job. It's who I am. So
and that's a thing that I don't know how much people realize. It is a huge commitment, and it's the hours are intense. The emotional drain is intense because not everyone you see is a happy scenario,
right?
And you can only do so much, and that's tough.
And do remember that your vet and you are on the same team.
Right.
Like, you are both trying to work towards helping the pet. And I know during stressful times, sometimes people want someone to blame, but do try to remember your vet is on your team.
Right. And something else we're not going to talk a lot about, but is pet insurance. Because sometimes you get thrown something which you don't expect, but like if something happens to your dog or cat or whatever, if you have something that can help pay for that, it just is kind of a relief, something, right?
Yeah. Oh, and I mean, veterinary care has become quite expensive. We do our best we can to try to keep it not as expensive. But I'm going to emergency, going to specialists right now. So, I mean, if something came up, insurance helps a lot for those times of emergency.
Yep. And again, if we do what we can to prevent our dogs being unhealthy, that kind of works with that too. So as for me with dogs, I can't imagine a life without dogs. I see them as angels on this earth because they show unconditional love, patience, loyalty, but they keep me laughing with their personalities and keep me healthy by exercising with them. I'd like to just say again, thank you so much for spending this time and talking to us because, yes, the client or the pet owner and the vet were there for the pet. And it's important to have a vet that you can trust. And so, yep, I do think you must be a candidate for sainthood as you patiently educate your clients. And that's something that I'm also committed to is helping people speak dog and to realize that this is just an amazing relationship between animals. For me, it's canines, but it's all animals and their people. We want dogs and our pets to live their best lives for as long as possible. Thank you, Dr. McGrane.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Giving Your Dog Its Best Life. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe down below. I welcome your comments here or at Janine@edupups.com. Together, we can speak, live, and love dog as we give your dog its best life.